8:43, we're continuing our conversation this morning in the case for Audrii Cunningham. The 11-year-old girl who was reported missing last Thursday was found dead in the Trinity River yesterday. 42-year-old Don McDougal is now a suspect in the case, according to investigators. Multiple agencies and organizations are working together to solve exactly what happened. Joining us right now is Rania Mankarious with Stoppers Houston. Rania, you know, this is a case that you and I have been talking about for the past few days. We were hoping for a different outcome. Sadly, this is not what any of us wanted. A community is devastated, but there are a lot of questions this morning. Give us perspective on what you know about McDougal and where this investigation is going as far as Crime Stoppers is concerned.
Well, there's many questions we're asking. One, we've got to be asking questions about Audrii's father. To have McDougal on the property, having access to Audrii, babysitting, taking her to school, raises serious concerns. Predators oftentimes, we say, hide their stripes, but in this case, McDougal hasn't really hidden his stripes. He has a lengthy criminal history, including child enticement, which, by the way, the actual indictment was on attempted indecency with a child, but it was pleaded down to child enticement. This man was showing signs of somebody not to be trusted with a young minor, and yet he seemed to have full access to Audrii. We are really wanting to ask more questions about that. And then certainly, we are concerned by this growing appetite to hurt children, whether it's online or in person, sexually, physically, and in this case, murder. More questions need to be asked. We're thankful for the community response, but certainly this case is not over.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched upon that. Reiterating that this is someone who we know has a lengthy criminal history. He had direct access to this child. So yes, a lot of questions with that, and that only fuels the appetite that we're seeing so often when it comes to solicitation online. Just this morning, we had a conversation with Rhonda Kirkendall. She's a survivor of human trafficking. She was trafficked from Fort Bend County at the age of 10, and she just faced her trafficker years later. But there is an appetite here, and it's absolutely disgusting. It's
disgusting. It's horrific. We know Rhonda very well. She's an incredible survivor, leader, and advocate. But we also know that the enticement and the luring of children, the assault of children, and the appetite for it online is growing. We have a case in the Galleria Mall, not too long ago, with the horrific sexual assault of young boys that was filmed. Filmed for what purpose? Certainly to go online, because there's an appetite for this. So there's a reason we have these conversations constantly at Crime Stoppers. One, with the community, because we always say a predator's greatest gift is an uninformed child and an uninformed family. And we do not want to make that a gift for predators. That's why we're constantly talking about this. But then there's the other fight. There's the fight for accountability online. We cannot have platforms that share this content, that continue to feed this devious, horrific, deprived appetite for the abuse of children. And I'll tell you, at Crime Stoppers, we see these cases, and the trauma and the hurt is so significant. But as our director of victim services, Andy Kahn, says, we can also look for catalysts for change. And Audrii will be a catalyst for change. Right now, we're calling upon state senators, representatives to change the law so that enticement of a child is now a requirement, or will be in this next session, that those individuals must register in the sex offender registry, and that they cannot plead down and get away from that type of registration. This type of behavior must stop. We must use every tool in our tool belt to ensure the protection of children. And Zach, like so many, I am just horrified by Audrii's last moments. I hate to think what she saw, when she endured, and I have to wonder what she's endured in the past. What she's endured in the past at the hands of McDougal.
And those are questions that we certainly will be asking. These are the toughest stories for us as journalists to cover, knowing the outcome and then knowing the final moments, and wondering how long pain was occurring before that. Rania, you talk about this taking a community to come up with solutions, and it really truly does. If people watching right now, listening right now, want to get involved with the work that you're doing to make our community a better place, where do they start? How do they start?
You know, we're the easiest organization to engage with because we are about sharing information. So right now, go on our Facebook page, go on our Instagram, go on our Twitter, follow us and share the content. It's the simplest thing, but what it does is get public safety awareness out there, get critical conversations out there. We'll give you tools and tips to talk to your children. These are not conversations. I'm a mom of 3. Yeah. I promise you, these are not conversations I want to be having with my children. But the reality is we live in this world in this time, and we've got to be talking about all the different things they may face, the different conversations they may hear. I promise you, if our kids are online, they've heard about Audrii's case, whether or not we want to talk about it in the home. So we've got to give the kids tools to manage it, and that's what we do. We're constantly sharing stories in a way that you can use to keep yourself and your family safe. We're in the schools, boots on the ground, kindergarten through 12th grade, with free prevention programming, working with the schools to make sure that we're talking about what the student body needs to hear. We're in the community with families, with businesses, with churches, synagogues, mosques, etc. Yeah. All we want to do is share proactive public safety information because, again, as I said a few minutes ago, when you look at predators and how they engage, they look for victims they have access to and are unsuspecting. And so if we can cut the access, we can share the red flags, we can make sure that families are aware, we can mitigate that access, and that's a key point for us.
Yeah, these victims are often children, and these children need our help. We so much appreciate the work you do every day. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Rania. As always, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Zach. Thank you.
Absolutely.